Good evening, everyone. It's the Ides of August 2022, and this is a regular meeting of the Moscow City Council. First up, Haley.
Good evening, everyone. If you're able, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Haley. Next up is the consent agenda, and the consent agenda consists of items that have been vetted by the Public Works and Finance Committee or the Administrative Committee and are a routine or non-controversial nature. However, any item can be pulled for separate consideration by a counselor.
Your Honor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Dan.
Ann got it. So moved and seconded. Ann.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Maureen.
Aye.
Julia.
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda is approved.
Sorry.
Next up is the staff recognition report,
Aye.
and I think we have staff recognition tonight. Jen.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to bring forward two items of recognition, and both come out of the Parks and Recreation Department. So I'll introduce Dave Schott, our Parks and Facilities Manager, first to talk about an amazing program. We have Tree Commission members here as well to talk a little bit about that. So Dave. Stay cool, Gina.
Mayor Becky, members of City Council, thank you for having me tonight. In April of this year, I attended the Idaho Recreation and Parks Association Annual Conference. During this conference, the City of Moscow was presented with the Outstanding Innovative Program for the adoption of the Moscow Heritage Tree Program. The Heritage Tree Program was developed through the formation of the Heritage Tree Program Ad Hoc Committee under the Tree Commission. The Ad Hoc Committee included 3 Tree Commission members, Mary Jo Hamilton, that's in our audience tonight, Pamela Brunsfeld, who wasn't able to attend tonight, and Zena Hartung, that is in the audience as well tonight. So the Moscow Heritage Tree Program was approved by City Council on November 15, 2021, through Resolution 2021-21. The goals of the program were to celebrate the benefits of matured trees by highlighting Moscow's heritage trees, connect people to the natural beauty of trees as they grow and mature, showcase examples of varieties of trees that grow well in our local conditions, and uplift and celebrate the role trees play in the urban environment. It is my pleasure to present the Heritage Tree Program Outstanding Innovative Program Award to Mayor Betke, our Moscow City Council, and the Moscow Tree Commission.
Hooray.
This is the award.
Do we have our official photographer?
Lens cap, Lori.
What about our commission members?
How about our commission members?
Yeah, we need those 2 commission members. Good job. Exactly.
All got the memo?
Nice. Yay!
And before Dave goes too far, at that same conference, and it has taken us all summer long to get these in front of council because it's been a long summer and a lot of busy people. Idaho Recreation and Parks Association also received a nomination for Dave from Dwight Curtis, our former Parks and Recreation Director. Dave won an award, or was honored with an award. It is the Idaho Parks and Recreation Professional Award for Facilities. It recognizes individuals who have given outstanding service in the management of recreation facilities. And I use plural because we have plural and will continue to provide high quality leisure opportunities and benefits to the community in the years ahead. So specifically, there are a few things, a few criteria points for that. And it's they rank on leadership, research, job performance, education, public relations. And then they have other areas, which I like. It's exceptional professional service of any kind. So I think that fits Dave to a T. A few of the notes that Dwight shared in his nomination, I'm just going to share them here. Let's see here. Dave, let's see here. If we think back, Dave received the International Arborist Association's Northwest Arborist of the Year Award in 2020 as well, which is also a testament to his service. And we don't have an arborist position, which is wonderful. So Dave's really filled that role well for us in his time. We have not missed a year earning the Tree City USA designation. We have the Tree City USA Growth Award. And then we also have, over the years, if you think about the different playgrounds we've installed, there's one a year, and Dwight mentions that. Changing up the way we install playgrounds. We've got professional playground installers now. We're averaging about one new neighborhood park a year for the last several years. We've improved parks and facilities, including an accessible wheelchair swing, replacement of outdated playgrounds, re-roofing major old facilities, replacements of aquatic center equipment, and glue lamb beams, which is always a fun topic. Accessibility improvements throughout. And these are just a few of the things that Dwight had mentioned. So Dave's already gotten his award, but I'd love to do an official photo with folks. So this is the Professional Award for Facilities for Dave Schott, April 2022, and then celebrated in August 2022.
Yay.
So way to go, Dave. There you go. Nice. Thank you all very much.
That's great.
Well, that was fun. We trade plaques with each other. Net, everybody's on the even. Next up is mayor's appointments. I have none tonight. Agenda item 4, public comment and mayor's response period. For the next 15 minutes in 3-minute increments. We invite anybody up to the podium with your name, address, and tell us what's on your mind, as long as it is not on tonight's agenda, nor pending before Planning and Zoning Commission or the Board of Adjustment. Anything else is your chance to tell the city council and myself what you think about what's going on in Moscow. Any takers? Just jump up.
Hi, Brenda Ingalls, Almond Street, Moscow. I was here last time when we were talking about the childcare licensing changes, and I'm with the Idaho Stars Project. And so I wanted to bring forth, there was a notion last time that perhaps there is no funding for childcare. And I wanted to bring to you that there is funding, especially with the ARPA dollars. There's funding available for childcare, not only for extending childcare that are already in place, but startup funds and so I brought a bunch of information about the different grant opportunities that are through health and welfare and our ARPA grants. And so I just wanted to bring that forth to you. And so please, if you're working with childcare providers or let them know to call Idaho Stars. We're happy to help them get through this process and have these funds work for them.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
I also have heard that there's block grants out there that are available, but Idaho has not applied for that. Is that true?
There have been years that we did not apply. The Idaho Stars Project is under a block grant. So our funding is through a block grant.
And does that provide resources then to help people who?
Yes, we work directly with the childcare providers. Here in Moscow at the University of Idaho, we are the training office, so we're in charge of the training and the curriculum for childcare providers and then we have scholarships. I mean, there's so much money in helping childcare. And so I just wanted to let you know that this notion of there's no money, there is. So help us, help them.
Awesome.
So is there something I could leave these with?
Yep, Lori.
Okay.
Thank
So
you
Thank you,
very
Brandy,
much.
for the helpful information.
Yeah.
So I hope it gets around. Who else wants to come up?
Hello, Kent
Hi.
Salisbury, I'm a resident of Moscow, Idaho. I recently visited down in Lewiston, and gas prices are 50 cents a gallon cheaper And so I know within such a short distance, they should really only at the most be 20 or 30 cents more. I wanted to bring that up with you guys, if you may look into it. And as well, there's some graffiti on the trail on the garage on your way past the park, out on the way out of town there. You can just slap a couple coats of paint on there,
East or west end?
out here on the trail.
So out on the west side.
Mhm.
Okay.
Slap a couple coats of paint and primer. I think it would be a lot more clean. Thank you very much.
Can
Thank
I
you.
ask, can I ask you a question? Did you email us a little while ago about the basketball hoops as well?
Yes, I came and visited a city council meeting a couple weeks back. and
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
over
And then I remembered your name from that. And I need to remember to talk to David about replacing a couple of basketball hoops in town, but your email has stuck with me and I haven't responded to
hear
you
it.
yet.
Thank you.
So, and thank you. This is what the public comment period is for. So thank you for coming and nudging us on things that we may not know about. Thank you.
And you are not alone in your gas price outrage. So, I don't understand how it works, but turns out there's nothing that Moscow can actually do about that, which is sad. Anybody else? Oh, good.
Hi, my name's Casey Dale, and I'm just wondering, is this the correct time to bring up just questions about the previous grant that was discussed last month?
Probably best to save it for the grant hearing part specifically.
Okay.
So we'll be hearing from folks on that topic as each one progresses. I'm going to give 3 minutes to the applicant for each of those, and then seeing as you're not necessarily an applicant tonight, 3 minutes more for you. So it'd be best to hold off until the actual grant.
Okay, yes, great. Thank you.
Anyone else? We always like to have a pregnant pause for these things just to
Yeah,
make sure.
awesome.
Just see if anybody has something more important to say.
Now, you're on.
I'm Pierce Christensen. Live here in Moscow on 811 Sherwood Street. But yeah, I just wanted to come and give an update to you, Mr. Mayor and Council. There's a block party on Saturday, and just thank you guys for the permit and let you know that it went smashingly. There were tons of people out. I think maybe 3,000 people or so, just kind of flowing throughout the night by some numbers. So it was great. There was tri-tip roasted by a Santa Maria native that came up and roasted about 270 pounds of that. So that was great. There was a mobile pizza oven cranking out Neapolitan style pizza, mac and cheese. Spotswood Abbey was playing live music, Wolfpack type jazz and funk and that kind of thing. It was a great time, and just wanted to share that and show some of the encouragement that it's good to see communities coming together and college students coming off campus and, oh, there's a party. Time to dance and have food with each other, and the businesses that were out there just to support each other and give time out, have a block party, get everybody together. It was a good time. So
Cool.
Yeah.
So thanks.
thank
It's
you.
always good to have a forensic after the fact, because a lot of times we don't hear what the result of these things were. So
Yeah, and
thank
there
you
was
for coming
also I think the Moscow Fest concert over at the fairgrounds the same night as well.
Moscow
So
Mountain.
there were all kinds of cool things going on Saturday night. It was a good time.
Excellent. Thanks for bringing that up and reporting in.
Yeah,
Appreciated.
thank you all.
Thank you, Pierce. We've got time for one more. Okay, the pause is expiring. So next up is item number 5, which is amendment to Moscow City Code Title 11, Chapter 2, bicycles, e-bikes, e-scooters, e-boards, and the repeal of Title 11, Chapter 3, bicycles. Cody Riddle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you mentioned, we're proposing 2 changes to Title 11 in the City Code this evening. The first is to repeal Chapter 3, or bicycles. That chapter was originally intended to establish licensing requirements for all bicycles in the city, and more specifically aid in the recovery of those that are stolen. Those regulations have actually proven to be largely ineffective. In fact, between 2016 and 2021, of I think it's 395 that were stolen, I believe only 7 were actually licensed. Repeal of the chapter won't, though, result in the reduction of services. The police department intends to maintain a voluntary licensing program for those that so desire. The Transportation Commission did confirm their support of this change in July of last year. The intent was actually to repeal it when we adopted the recent standards for e-bikes, e-scooters, and things like that, but there was an oversight and didn't occur. So that thus we're bringing it forward this evening. The second change is actually an amendment to, or a minor adjustment to Chapter 2 related to bicycles, e-bikes, e-scooters, and e-boards. Again, that chapter was recently adopted primarily for the purpose of regulating those electric assist devices. And included language regarding abandonment. However, after further conversation with police and others, it was clear that we needed to make a minor update to the language around abandonment. And so the update included in your packet changes that language and most specifically clarifies the police's ability who enforce these devices when they're abandoned to remove them immediately if they present a safety concern, they're obstructing the walkway, things like that. And then it also changes the period they're required to be tagged when they're not obstructing that right of way from 72 to 48 hours. And that's actually consistent with state law around vehicle abandonment and things like that. So with those two changes, they were presented to Public Works Finance Committee last week, who supported the change. And so we are recommending approval of the code amendment this evening under suspension of the rules for 3 readings. Thank you.
Questions, counselors? Julia?
I'm just really glad we're doing this because I feel guilty that I never remember to register my bicycle. So now I won't be a lawbreaker anymore.
Yeah, me too. I never knew we had to.
Yeah.
So
I do have a question. I'm in complete agreement with my cohorts up here. I do have a question, however, about the $7 charge. If we're making it a voluntary program, can we make it a free voluntary program?
I kind of doubt it because there is staff time involved as well as the cost of the stickers and keeping them logged into computers and things like that.
The intent is to recover the administrative cost of.
Yeah, I hear
And
that.
it's a lifetime. It's a one-time fee.
$7 for your entire life.
Entire life. I still have a 1998 mountain bike licensed in Moscow.
I think, see, he's not a lawbreaker
I
like
know,
Julia
make me
down
look
there.
bad. Thanks.
I think that it is a good, and I get it. I get the administrative fee thing. I, however, see it as somewhat of a barrier to entry for a 12-year-old who doesn't necessarily have $7 in his pocket. So I just want to throw that out there. I agree. Nothing's for free, but it'd be nice if this was.
Haley?
And that, yeah, I had that same question because, and I don't know that it's required in the same way as it is for like dogs in town that are required to be permitted or registered with the city. So I don't know if it, because my understanding was, especially when I bought my bike pre-COVID, was that it was meant to help with the recovery process. There's a note that we received an email from Phil Cook, who is like a longtime transportation guy in town who is retired. And I was gonna say required, wrong word. And he had mentioned something about an online stolen bicycle registry. And I don't know if he's just saying like putting it out on Craigslist saying you got a stolen bike or something. So I'm wondering if there's other options that we can look at. I'm happy we can do it in tandem. Bike pun, anybody?
Oh,
Pause
bike
for
joke.
bike pun. I'm on a roll tonight, you guys.
I got it. It was good.
I think that conversation can be tangential to this conversation because I'm happy with the code change as is, but I do wonder if maybe we're looking at a couple other areas for improvement.
Well, if you want to look at the fee for the registering the bike, I think the place to do it would be the next consideration of
Fee resolutions.
adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
make-
So
Well,
with you on
yeah.
that one.
somebody
Good.
makes a note of that.
Haley's doing it.
So
Your Honor, I would move that we adopt the proposed ordinance amending Title 11, Chapter 2, bicycles, e-bikes, e-scooters, and e-boards, and repeal Title 11, Chapter 3, bicycles.
under suspension of the rules requiring three
It-
completes.
it-
It's not on there.
It doesn't say that under suspension of the rules that we're requiring 3 separate and equal readings and
Say it like you
something
mean it.
else.
But it would be handy if that were the case.
It would be handy if that was written in here.
So,
I'll second that.
okay. So approving the ordinances presented under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings that be published
Right.
by title and
Published by
Thank you.
summary.
it's what happens when you leave that sentence out.
Yeah, we really need that sentence in there.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Gina,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
and Julia.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. So the number?
Sorry, I wasn't ready. 10.
10. Ordinance number 2022-10, an ordinance of the city of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, providing for an amendment to Chapter 2 of Title 11, bicycles, e-bikes, e-scooters, and e-boards, providing for a revised definition of abandonment and the repeal of Chapter 3 of Title 11, bicycles, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, and providing that this ordinance be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law. And there we have it. All right. Next up is number 6, the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, Small Business and Nonprofit COVID-19 Recovery Grant Program with Cody Riddle. And on this one, as I said earlier, as we march our way through the various applications, we give the applicant 3 minutes to come up if they so choose. You don't have to, but to come up and provide a little support for your application in 3-minute increments. So, Cody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Well, actually, the staff presentation will be all in one cohesive presentation. And then as you directed, the applicants can speak after that. We didn't break it down applicant by applicant. But for a little background, as you'll recall, the city established a program back in December allocating $750,000 in funding to assist small businesses and nonprofits that were struggling in response to the situation around the pandemic. With that, in both April and June of this year, council has awarded just over $387,000 in funding to a number of nonprofit and small business organizations, which leaves a balance of just over $362,000 in funding available. That brings us to this evening. At your last hearing, you did direct staff to return with the new applications and those that had initially sought funding beyond the maximum specified in that resolution. And so that brings us to this evening. In your packet, you have 5 applications from 5 nonprofit organizations and 3 small businesses. Also, as described in your packet, the review committee that includes staff from community development and the finance department did find that 3 of the new applications were ineligible based on the specific language of the resolution. And I'd like to walk you briefly through why we came to that conclusion. So first, in the case of the nonprofits, the committee didn't find that either the Laytown County Historical Society or the Humane Society were introducing new or expanded programs that were designed specifically to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. We also struggled to see where those 2 applicants fell within one of the 4 specific categories included in that original resolution, those being services to address homelessness or housing insecurity, behavioral health services, nutritional assistance, and then educational services. Now, certainly we'll acknowledge, and you can see in the first sentence up there, that City Council does have the discretion to grant funding to those other organizations should they desire. But that same language or that same discretion wasn't and probably shouldn't have been given to staff or the review committee. Thus our conclusion, our recommendation that those agencies were ineligible. Now, in the case of the small business, the one that we recommended denial or found to be ineligible, the standards are a little bit different. Small businesses are required to show a loss of at least 25% in net income when comparing pre-pandemic conditions to either 20 to current conditions. In the case of stacks, while they showed a loss between 2020 and 2021, when we compare pre-pandemic conditions, again, 2019 to either of those years, there's an increase in net income by comparison. So with that, the committee did find, based on the resolution, again, we did recommend denial or found ineligible the applications by Stacks, the Laytown County Historical Society, and then the Humane Society. We are recommending that you approve the other complete applications that were included in your packet, but for an amount not to exceed that specified in the resolution. And then finally, as originally contemplated in the allocation of the ARPA funds, we are recommending that the remaining funding be allocated to water infrastructure projects moving forward. Now, just briefly, that financially, this is what that would look like. That would leave approximately $257,000 for those water infrastructure projects. If you were to use your discretion and you feel warranted and were to grant the Historical Society and Humane Society funding tonight, that would leave the $227,000 roughly for the water infrastructure projects. Now, finally, you did ask that we return with information or include in your packet, and we did, the information for those applicants that had requested more than the maximum specified by the resolution, and that's provided on the screen. I did want to point out just a couple or call your attention to just a couple of the applications there. First, Sojourners Alliance, they were previously awarded $25,000, but have subsequently submitted a new application requesting an additional $15,000. And then the Palouse Care Network was allocated or awarded $8,000 last time. And they were kind of the one wild card where they had requested $80,000, were granted the $8,000 as opposed to the $25,000 that the other nonprofits were granted in previous actions. I believe that concludes staff's comments. The applicants, I believe, don't all have presentations, but many are with us tonight and might want to elaborate on some of their requests and certainly answer specific questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, any questions on the general presentation?
I have a question.
Yep.
Mr. Riddle, I don't know exactly where Sojourners belongs in those two boxes. And so when I was looking at the grant applications, I thought they almost kind of deserve their own category because we have new applications, we have the applications that weren't changed at all. They're just the same application. And then you have Sojourners who got a grant but knew there was more money, so they applied with other things. So I just wanted to point that out, that I think Sojourners is kind of unique in that in the tables.
Mr. Mayor, council member, that's why we called it out here, because we struggled with just how to identify their specific requests, but did want to call your attention to that.
Because none of the other applicants updated their packets.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Can I ask, can we just leave that up there when people come up to talk about it?
The screen here?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Unless there's something else that you want to.
or the previous screen that would apply to some of the current applicants.
I have another question about the Humane Society. And I just struggled with that one because I was like, well, they're providing nutrition just for dogs.
Temporary
I
housing,
don't know. Like
For dogs.
they are contributing to like that household category. Can you put that list back up? Yeah, including food banks, food assistance programs, and similar services provided to households in need. I don't know. I just thought maybe.
The review committee certainly struggled with that as well. But again, the way it's written, certainly I think it would fall to council's discretion should they want to allocate funding to the Humane Society.
So it does say household needs, and so I'm not quite certain the Humane Society fits into the household category until a pet is actually adopted into a household.
Well, they have like a pet food bank.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking that would make them qualify. You know, like a food bank, but you can pick up dog food or cat food there.
Litter, yep.
And
And
litter there.
And I was thinking in terms of if you've been impacted by your own sources of income, and that's something that you're able to, the first thing that you may have to skimp on is being able to provide for your pets. So I had the same thought, Julia, was it's homeless cats.
I don't
Homeless
know.
dogs.
Yeah,
I guess I think
it's a
that
hard one.
I would say it's almost easier to argue in terms of households in need.
Well, let's postpone this particular discussion till we get to that one
Okay.
and just take them as they're listed in the agenda, which starts off with the Laytown County Historical Society and work our way down. So at this point, if anybody from the Laytown County Historical Society would like to come up and in 3 minutes provide support for their application, you don't have to, but please go ahead if you want to.
Good evening. I'm Haley Noble, the Executive Director of the Historical Society. I just wanted to address that, yes, the Historical Society maybe does not do much for homelessness and providing for those families in need, but I also want to stress the importance of heritage organizations, especially at a time like this where history is perhaps being questioned a lot more than it has in the past, when people are wondering what history to tell, and that we want to be available for those citizens who do want to look into their genealogy, their family history, grow with historical literacy and look at sources and have those critical thinking skills. In my application, I did request funding for our existing events, although with the COVID pandemic, we did not have them the past couple of years. Things like the Harvest Dinner and the Victorian Christmas, which really foster that community sense that we so desperately are seeking right now. So we have not had those events since 2019. And so we are hoping this fall to be able to do them again. We had the ice cream social in July, and that was a great success. And we think people really needed that after the past couple of years, and we're really happy with the success that came with that. I would just again stress that we are under the educational category. We really want to be there for students and families when learning about these difficult topics in our community. And at the time of the application, we didn't quite have things scheduled out for this fall, but since then we are now looking through the fall. The McConnell Mansion is hosting a community art show. And with that, we are planning supplemental programming, looking at the confluence of art and history and just how fundamental those are to our civilization, and looking to do things like workshops and free public lectures, looking at art and history and how the past can really tell us about our future and where we're going. So that's just what I wanted to amend.
Thank you.
Sandra.
Do you have a couple, can I ask you a couple questions, Haley? Is that okay?
Yeah.
One thing that I actually think of a lot when I think of the Historical Society is the education that you do provide. And some of the things I didn't see on there, and I wasn't sure why, I believe that in addition to some of the community events, which all seem to be educationally aimed, I know even the ice cream social, there are many learning events that happen there.
Yes.
And it seems like, if I recall, you were only able to have one Suds with a Scholar, and usually you have about 4 a year.
We were able to do two this past summer.
Right, and none the summer before, if I recall.
Right.
And it also seems like you go out truly into Laytown County and work with the schools and our schools here in town, right?
Yes, and again, kind of easing back into pre-pandemic conditions, we are moving forward trying to figure out ways to better serve our teachers and our school. We have had school tours come through the mansion, but we really want to, be able to go into classrooms as that is available. We've been short-staffed, so a few of those education programs will be placed on the table going forward as we get a new curator.
And then a follow-up, if that's okay. Sure. And as you mentioned the McConnell Mansion, and I know that there's some school tours that go in, but it also seems like you do other events that also have to do with education, whether it's I know I don't think you do the Victorian tea anymore, but that was one that used to be an educational opportunity. But can you
Yeah.
elaborate on some of the mansion things, since that's
Of
sort of the
course.
heart of where we are in the educational programming you do there?
Yes, so we are available. I know you yourself have given tours of that Fort Russell area. So, even outside the mansion, we do those school groups. This past spring in May, we did a salon event where we looked at literature and theater, music. We kind of had these half-hour sessions of all those things that comprise the humanities with local writers, local musicians. And that was a free event, part of Art Walk. And so things like that, we were really fortunate to be able to do in the mansion. As I said, this fall, we're really wanting to do some more of those free educational programs inside the mansion on things like art and history and, doing kid-specific things, but also adult-specific things as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions I can answer?
Maybe this is more fodder for our team, because I think I really appreciate staff's recommendation and making sure that we're evaluating everything consistently. And I know that the resolution is focused, and the reason for being recommended not eligible is because of the not seeing like expanded programs, newer expanded programs. And I just want to say, like, I volunteer with a few nonprofits and everything looks a little bit different. But what I will say is it's really hard to talk about expanding services if you're really just trying to recover from a couple years of COVID, where a lot of your events that help with your operating budget can't happen. And so I understand the scope of what we were trying to do, but I'm just thinking in terms of, like, we granted money for the Kenworthy. The Kenworthy had it fell into the education category. And I feel for the Historical Society, because it's hard to talk about putting pen to paper for new programming when you're just trying to make up the difference of your operating budget. So, and I'm sorry to be gone for the ice cream social, but I have always really enjoyed that event.
Yeah, 100%. Your point is exactly right, that we are still trying to just get back in the groove that's been lost for a couple of years. So, yeah.
Anything else, council? Okay, deliberation time. Thank you, Haley. Julia.
It's really hard to, I understand this is an educational organization, and it's unfortunate that the budget then doesn't really reflect it,
Right.
some of that. So is there any interest in funding it at a lower rate if we take out some of the things like utilities?
I would say that every single one of the applicants in our program have all been dealing with the same challenges that any of the organizations are dealing with, making up lost revenue, trying to find ways to get staff to work more for less. I hesitate to start pushing the boundaries of our interpretations, because it really opens up, in my opinion, wiggle room in the decisions that have already been made. And I think that we pay our staff well and gave them a lot of latitude and a lot of responsibility, and they have done a great job with these grant applications. They've been very diligent, and they've carried the lovely heaviness of these decisions along with us. I would hate to see us change them now, because I'm afraid of the precedent it would set, and I believe in what they've done.
Maureen.
I think, though, Gina, the one thing that my question on that is whether or not we should take into consideration, the grant application was read without the input that we had tonight with respect to education. It was lacking in that. And maybe it was the questions were pumped at them. I wasn't rejection of all, but I think that to talking about the scope of the educational aspects of this was brought out tonight. So as long as there's no prohibition of us being able to take into consideration the application and the presentations, which is the part of the reason we asked people to come if they wanted to come.
And I hear you, and I will say that everybody got the same application, and some did a better job than others of explaining what they were going to do with the money.
Haley?
I have two thoughts. Because I've had a hard time with this program from day one. I think I'm on the business side, and I just, for instance, there's a couple new faces in the audience, and I apologize that I'm on my soapbox again. I'm really uncomfortable with the amount of information we're asking our private businesses to provide to the city and what is getting asked to get looked at to make sense of it. And it's not through any, that's just how the program was written. And I, in a perfect world, hindsight's 2020, I would have been giving input in December prior to getting sworn into the office. But what I will say is, in talking like with Brandy Sullivan and other people who were on council when this was going down, the whole point of having this money and upping this amount for our nonprofits and businesses was to help our nonprofits and our business. And I understand that you don't want to once you make an exception for one, you may have to make an exception for many, but a vote's contained. Like, if we're going to agree that you don't want to open up wiggle room for other previous decisions, and the decision's already been made, but I'm having a really hard time if I'm having a hard time with the program, but I'm trying to honor the intention of what the program's trying to do, which is get money to our nonprofits and our businesses who are hurting. And we were given the discretion to say unless otherwise approved by city council. There's some of these that I'd like to make the case for, because also, having been a person who was a volunteer grant writer for nonprofits, it's a fine art, and I'm not good at it. And that's, and I think if our goal is to be looking out for our communities and making sure that our people who have struggled and have been providing important services that were defined as far as the nonprofit piece, or businesses who did happen to stay open through COVID, I think we need to be willing to entertain the other, unless otherwise approved by city council, because if the goal is to help as many businesses as possible and as many nonprofits as possible, there's some of the fine print that I'm going to disagree with.
But remember too, that it says to help the nonprofits and small businesses as affected by COVID.
Right.
So it's not necessarily just putting money out there to help people do their businesses, but it's in a response to the effects of the COVID pandemic.
And more specifically, sure, but I disagree with the 25% threshold. I think that was pretty steep, and we've had a couple people fall short that I'd like to look at. And I think as far as for the nonprofit and negatively impacted by COVID, who want to see newer expanded services, just because it didn't get written on paper because the Historical Society is trying to be operational for another year, doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking at what we can do to help them. That's my soapbox.
I'm not particularly interested in going backwards, because it seems to me that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply
so
that.
My sense is that this one here is the Historical Society. And so what we want to look at is that one versus what we're doing with businesses, what we're doing with a bazillion other nonprofits. What we're here today to look at is Laytown County Historical Society. And they've asked for $20,000, and that's what we should look at.
So, disposition of the Laytown County Historical Society application, counselors. Counselors?
Was it for 15?
I
or
move
20?
that we approve a grant for $25,000 to the Laytown County Historical Society.
Can I give it a friendly amendment to that?
Sure.
I don't believe that we should expand the amount of money that someone's asking for.
I'm sorry, did they ask for 20?
They asked for 20.
I just
Oh, I was looking for the same
missed
thing.
it on my list.
Unless I missed something, I put it in my chart as 20.
Oh.
And so what they asked for was 20, so I
Yes,
think that we
20.
should go with what we
Excuse me.
have.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? Okay, Anne,
Can you come back to me, please, Mr. Mayor?
Julia,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Gina,
No.
Anne?
No.
Okay, it's a 4-2 passage on that one to award the Laytown County Historical Society $20,000 from the ARPA monies. Next up is the Humane Society of the Palouse.
Mr. Mayor,
Madam.
I am going to, what's the word I just lost?
Recuse.
Thank you. Recuse myself from this. I am a non-voting member on the Humane Society board right now, and I don't feel it's appropriate to vote on this.
Okay, So, anybody here from the Humane Society who might like to say a few words?
If there are questions, I may be able to help answer them, but I'll go down there to do it.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question for Cody, maybe. The city does help. I wanted to make sure I understand. I think we help fund in part the Humane Society, like our annual budget. Is that right? Do we know the amount?
We do.
Mr. Mayor, that's correct. I don't know I can't
Okay.
speak to the
We
amount.
could
though.
find out for you here in the big books.
I know I didn't bring my binder this time, guys. Sorry.
So I'm Sandra Kelly. I live on Garfield Street. I don't know the exact amount. Mainly it's for helping with the building.
Okay.
And it's, I believe, around between $15,000 and $30,000.
Annually. Okay. Thank you.
Somebody wanted to grab the budget book.
There is one in.
It's 293 pages, so it might take a second.
Might take a while.
And so while I can flip through too. I was the other thing is,
Mayor.
oh,
It's just under $55,000.
annually.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Never mind.
That's perfect.
I'm going to end up sounding like a broken record by the end of this discussion this evening, but I will say once again, while I am positive my doodles at home would agree that they are mental health instruments, this is not part of the Humane Society, while very important, and I believe very strongly in it, is not an eligible applicant, in my opinion.
So I'm a huge dog lover, as many of us up here on this panel are, but I have to agree that it is a stretch for what we approved of, and whether or not it should have been something different and we wanted to look at it and rewrite it. It's not, we can't do that today from my perspective.
Mr. Mayor, I've got one other thought. So this letter came in, and the summary from the committee came in on July 29th, which I think predates the announcement for Whitman County Humane Society and their mass exodus of staff. And so I am on the, again, otherwise approved concept of, I think it's a loose interpretation, a wider scope of those 4 categories. I think the Humane Society fits the bill, and they've also taken on a huge amount of work by helping fill the gap that Whitman County, especially since this letter summary came out from staff to us, they have seen an increased demand, and they're doing a lot for the region. So,
Which is nice, but the stipulation is as a result of COVID.
and so I guess, again, if my community was approving us to try and do what we can to help everyone affected by COVID, these guys were affected by COVID also in terms of volunteers and stuff. And so I would make the case that I'm happy to see them get another $10,000 from this fund. So I make a motion to, oh guys, here we go. I'm going down with the ship, guys. I make a motion to grant Humane Society of the Palouse their request from the ARPA nonprofit grant request for $10,000.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Further discussion?
I had a comment. Yeah, I think for me looking at this, it's the same as the one before, which I voted no on. Looking at the criteria, and I think part of that's how the applications were crafted. But to me, I appreciate people coming and speaking tonight, but it's not the same as it being in the application in my mind. And so that's why I voted no on the last one, and we'll vote no on this one as well.
Okay. Julia,
Aye.
Ann,
Nay.
Haley,
Aye.
Gina,
No.
Sandra,
Stain.
Staines, and Maureen.
No.
So we've got
2 and 2.
2 and 2, or 3 and 2.
I'm sorry, 3 and 2. It died.
So
Nice try.
nothing there. Okay, next one. Stacks 2 LLC.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Anybody?
How are we going to do the other
He's actually here.
nonprofits?
Yeah, so please come on up. I'm just taking the order that they appear.
Oh, okay. I was doing that.
My name's Andy. Many of you know me. So my business is one of those that is maybe on the fringes of this program if you are looking at it strictly by the letter of the application. And I'm hoping to provide some more background information so you can understand the numbers part of this. So I purchased Stacks in 2019. The business had been neglected for the previous years. And so I immediately injected over $20,000 into the business. We did a major renovation, all sorts of things. And that impacts in a major way how the math works for this. And so that's one thing that I wanted to bring up right away. So if you look at the way the calculation works, we did make more money in 2020, and we made even more money in 2021. I don't think it's too much of a stretch for everyone here to understand that in many ways that happened due to the inflation that was happening, the supply shortages that were going on. And so our gross did increase through those times. We also had in 2020 and 2021, 12 months worth of sales as opposed to 11 in 2019. And so if you look at the calculations comparing us pre-COVID to during COVID, it doesn't meet the criteria. And I'll be the first to say that. Our 2019 versus 2020, and I think there was even a nice chart showing how amazing we were doing in 2020. But that doesn't show the whole picture of where our 2019 was. It was a down year in sales, and it was a year of great increase in my capital investment in the business. So it's maybe not a great point of comparison. But speaking on the impact of COVID, many businesses and restaurants especially didn't feel the impact of COVID until 2021 when the supply chain got really messed up. We kind of limped along through 2020. We immediately started pivoting our business to be able to stay open. I have 2 small kids at home and we rely on my income. So we didn't have the luxury of being able to close for months early on in the pandemic. We had to find a way to be open, and we did. And I am infinitely grateful for the people of this community who supported us during that time, getting takeout, meeting us on the curb. It helped my family personally get through that portion of the pandemic. The hardest part for my business, though, was in 2021. And I don't know specifically the numbers that you guys have access to, but I can tell you that 2020 versus 2021, we had let me get my numbers here. So in 2021 versus 2020, my expenses went up by 33%. My net income went down by 36%. And in between those two numbers, you'll find that 48% of my income in 2021 went into expenses for the business for COVID-related issues, staffing, labor shortages, supply chain stuff. For one brief example, the gloves that we wear every time we handle food, we go through hundreds a day, and a case used to cost me $19. Right now, and since about mid-2020, it's 100 and some. And most things have increased more than that. So, for your consideration, 2019 versus pandemic years is not a great indicator of the effects of the pandemic on my business. And if you look at 2020 early in the pandemic, versus 2021, where we're full on in it in survival mode, you start to see the real effects of that, much greater than a 25% reduction in income, much greater than a 25% increase in expenses. So I just wanted to share that with you all, and I'm happy to answer questions about it as well.
Thanks. Questions, counselors? I guess not, but don't
All right.
run off.
Okay.
So deliberations, folks.
Mr. Mayor?
Would you start, please?
Of course. Oh, I've got hot takes for days. This is an example of where staff did everything they could to evaluate based on the criteria that was set forth in the guidance. And I am feeling like we should take liberties with this particular instance of recommendation, and I would advocate for funding stacks because I think if my sense is it's not going to make or break any $15,000 isn't going to make or break the applicants of the people who are coming forth for these business asks. But I think without our small businesses, we don't have nonprofits, we don't have Main Street, and this is something I'm going to advocate for. So I would say based on the number that I'm seeing, and I would want to see stacks funded for $15,000. And I'll wait to make a motion until all their deliberation is given.
Well, frankly, that sounded an awful lot like a motion.
Let me weigh in again then with the downer of the moment. I hear you. I completely hear you. And I was happy to support you with the few dollars I had during that time. I would love to, I'm going to use a quote from you, take liberties with our timeframes and our rules and the entire program because, well, there are 25,000 exceptions to the rule, and I would love to make every single one of them. That being said, we are taking liberties with the rules, and the staff weighed it like they weighed everybody else, and I feel really uncomfortable taking those kind of liberties. I just can't, as much as I would love to.
Can I share a personal experience about this process that kind of speaks to your point?
Sure. I'm not in charge.
Well, so when this grant program first came out, I had no interest in it. It's asking for way too much personal information that you do not need to figure out the health of a business. Any person running a small business who handles their own finances can tell you that. You don't need to see the money I take home to know whether or not my business is healthy or not. And so I had no desire to be part of this program. And I called the city and I said, hey, I don't think I fit into this. And there's a lot of this stuff that I am against. And I had spoke to individuals on the phone who said, you should apply. You have to apply. Not that many people are applying. And we are going to judge each application on its own merits. And I said, I can't hit the 25. I know just looking at it, I'm not going to. And I was told on May 3rd by a city employee, well, it's not just the 25%. We're looking at that as the ballpark, as kind of the estimation of where we should take this. And I said, okay, I'll put this in there, but I don't want my personal information out there. And they said, no problem. On May 17th, both of those sentiments were expressed to me again. So I put my application in. And at this point in time, I have nearly 20 hours of my time providing data, financial documents, and crunching numbers for the city. And I don't expect you to pay me for my time, but I want you to understand the lengths that I've gone to get here. Sure. And Haley's right, that $15K won't make or break my business. I wouldn't be a good business owner if it did.
Exactly.
But when there's a shortage of money in my business, when I need to provide safety equipment for my staff, if the money's not in the business, it comes out of my pocket. So I think that we also need to be aware, and I really don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I've been told on many occasions, starting on May 3rd, on May 17th in emails that these things are a guideline that the city will use. And so then to come here tonight and say, it's a hard line, 25%. It's a hard line, this. The way those words are written are the way that we'll decipher this is very disappointing to me for the city. And I can't help but feel like I've been lied to. That is not your problem. But there are many of us in this town, if you go talk to small business owners, who feel that way about this program. And for me, this is a foregone conclusion. I don't need the money, and it won't hurt my feelings if you guys all say no. But I want you to know there is a level of inaccuracy, inefficiency, and lying that was happening here that took my time.
I appreciate
Yes,
that.
and your thoughts are appreciated, but also realize that what staff is putting forth to you, the business owner, and the rest of the public comes from the direction of those of us up here at the bench. So don't lay the blame on staff.
I'm not blaming anyone other than the people who I specifically talked to on the phone who told me things that are turning out to be not true. Those are the only people I blame. We're all responsible for the words that come out of our mouth.
Agreed.
Okay,
What can I?
yes,
Sure.
please.
And Andy, I'm sorry that I don't remember this from the presentation earlier. Cody, looking at this, what was your net? How close are you to 25%? Find all the correct years.
If you're judging 2019 versus 2020, it's not even close. But also for my net income for 2019, it's negative $25,000. So when you're looking at the data and saying, oh, well, you know, his net income increased by 60%, 160%, that means I went from leaving $25,000 in the business to taking home 10 or 15 for that year. The next year, that got cut in half. 2020 is not when the pandemic happened in restaurants.
Right.
So judging 2019, and especially in my case where I have very specific things that only happen in 2019 that don't impact other years, it's not entirely accurate to use the cookie cutter example that's provided in the grant.
Thank you.
Okay, counselors.
I'll just say it makes me uncomfortable that this is not the first time we've heard this from a business owner, and we haven't heard from that many. I really don't like that.
I agree.
And I get my other thought is my sense of staff feedback being that it's going to be a guideline is meant to also indicate that council has the ability to take other actions. Like that's my interpretation of us hearing from businesses who are saying that they've been encouraged to see the process through. And so what that tells me is staff also trusts us to, if we choose to divert from staff's recommendation in this particular program, that it's up to us to deliberate and discuss that. And it's not staff's expectation that we're going to only act based on that recommendation, because it's not COVID wasn't a black and white issue. And each application isn't a black and white issue. So with that being said, I make a motion to, I'm looking for my verbiage. Sorry, guys. Grant Stacks to LLC $15,000 as requested in the small business grant request.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
I have one question, and that is, I appreciate your story that you told us, and I think that is pretty moving to us. One of my concerns is that I don't want to suddenly open up prior people that have, I mean, not anybody who didn't apply, they didn't apply. But I guess my sense is that there's some that didn't have income in 19 and we denied it because it didn't meet the criteria. And I'm just concerned about expanding that and then being able to come to a conclusion and resolution tonight. If in fact that means
Well,
we're going to open. up to-
Reopening old business? No, we won't be doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion?
I will, if that's okay.
Yep.
I would say the reason that I did second this is because I do agree that, I agree with Anne and the sentiment of this is disappointing in a lot of ways because we've heard it before. And I also agree that it's not a black and white as COVID was not, and that we can see the difference on this grant application from 19 and the difference of 21. And that's where I am at, is that difference right there is over 25%. And that is a COVID year and restaurants were hit hard. So that is why I seconded that motion. And that's why I will vote to award.
Okay, absent further discussion, you're going to have that opportunity here. Maureen,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Okay, passes. $15,000 goes to Stacks.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, next up is Sister's Cookie.
Just one?
That's what it says
You
on
can
the-
never eat
Just-
one
I thought it was
sister's
sisters.
cookie.
It is Sisters, but the cookie is
That's an
singular.
expensive cookie.
So
Do we
so you
don't
can
have
only have
anybody
one
out
at a
there?
time. So anybody?
I think in the back,
Sisters,
yeah, come on up.
Come on up, please.
Thanks for not bribing us with cookies.
Yeah, really.
I don't know. I don't think I'm seconding that one.
I don't want to wait.
I'm Connie Rosendahl, Almond Street Sisters Cookie Company owner. I'm open to questions. I don't have a presentation. I thought my things are pretty black and white, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Haley.
What's the most popular cookie you sell?
Chocolate chip.
Thanks.
Of course.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Well, you know the big one's answered.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Yeah. What'd she ask for?
Don't want to delve into a big argument about who's favorites. Personally, I think it's Snickerdoodle, but that's beside the point.
Our top three
Snickerdoodle.
sellers, yeah.
So
I can't find how much you guys asked for in this 15.
15.
I'm just going to move that we give you $15,000 from the grant.
Second.
Oh, too fast.
motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Maureen again.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Julia.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Easiest presentation you ever made.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I do want to say that you really helped me out when I had COVID because my sister bought Sisters cookies and had them sent to my house.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's an
It's
option.
my
Wow.
personal Sisters cookie
neighbors.
COVID story.
You're right. I got neighbors.
Okay, next up, we have the Kamiak Coffee Company. Anybody out there from Kamiak?
Darn.
Okay, counselors.
Well, I can say that in and this is past days now because I don't work for Partnership for Economic Prosperity anymore, but I will tell you they are a homegrown, absolutely been here, bound and determined to stay here kind of a business. And I could not be more enthusiastic about seeing their application.
Is that a motion?
That would be a motion that we give them $15,000.
Second.
Oh, go ahead, Haley, got it.
Okay, so Haley got that one. Further discussion? Okay, Haley,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Okay, the Kamiak Coffee people, 15,000. Next up is Palouse Habitat for Humanity. Oh, you've got the drill down. This is excellent. Thank you.
We'll make it quick. You have our application, so you've seen the impacts that we outlined and our hope for programming. Are there any questions? I brought my board chair.
Yes, you did.
I only have one question for you, Jennifer,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
it's just a reminder. You are building another house in Moscow this year too?
We
is that right?
are. We just started, we broke ground late because of the rain. And if the city council would like to come swing hammers, we would love to have you.
Oh,
Consider that.
yes. I
Yes.
guess I have two questions. And you finished the house in Colton, correct?
It was in Uniontown.
Uniontown. I
And yes, we
often
finished
do that.
that. There's a new single dad homeowner in that house as of the end of June.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I'm not seeing you. Thank you.
I move that we award Habitat for Humanity $25,000.
Second.
Motion by Maureen, second by Ann. Further discussion?
I think we ought to clone them.
Okay, Sandra,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and Maureen.
Aye.
Okay, good job, Habitat for Humanity. Moscow Affordable Housing Trust. I know we'll get somebody up here for that one.
All right, but
I
let's cut him
know.
off at 3 minutes.
I've got a timer.
Give me the gavel.
Okay, start the timer. Nils Peterson, Moscow Affordable Housing Trust, 510 West Palouse River Drive. You all have had a tough set of decisions tonight. My application was complicated relative to your request in that my fiscal year starts July 1, and that threw off a bunch of things, and some of them were sort of intractable to answer. Our grant requesting cycle starts right after the new year and tends to run into late spring, early summer. And so we had a number of things that were in Wells Fargo, Innovia, and all of a sudden I'm getting emails back from these agencies saying, we have pivoted. And I was like 100% in favor of what they were doing. They were trying to get money to much more immediate things than what I was requesting. But that then was the impact really on our funding, was it took a while to recover from them pivoting and sending their funds in other directions. I think the application talks about building some parking. If you haven't come by and seen the house that the University of Idaho students are building, there's lots to love. And I'm dressed like this because I was in the crawl space today. They have fun upstairs and they send me down in the crawl space to sort things out. Anyway, so that's making progress. And what we need to do is off the side of the alley there, build a series of parking stalls. And that's what this would fund.
Nils, I have to say that I have, I wish that every single one of these applications were as easy, in my opinion, to fund as this one. I want to assure you that sometimes it feels like a million baby steps that you're making, but you are making a difference. And I have very seldom seen as creative a problem solver as you. And so I would totally move that we grant the Affordable Housing Trust $25,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
I will abstain.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I will abstain from the vote because I'm on the board.
I have one more question for Nils. I noticed that on the application, we've got seniors checked as a box for people who would benefit. And I guess, and this is probably a longer question and a longer conversation, but because we know affordable housing affects all ages, I guess I'm not aware of the outreach that we've been seeing as far as affordable housing for our seniors. And so is that a consistent piece of the conversation that Affordable Housing Trust is having, or is that, I guess I'm trying to understand what the reach has been there.
So,
because I know low income is a priority, and I forget, I don't want to lose sight of that being a really big age bucket.
Right, low income spans
Right. All ages.
groups,
Yeah.
right? We haven't been marketing to seniors, but the house that we're building now is single level and fully accessible.
Right.
And so it's the sort of thing, and in fact, the U of I wants to build 6 of them, one a year, all fitting that same easy to age in place in.
Yeah.
So I imagine that is a potential buyer. And the other thing is, unlike my friends at Habitat, we're building a very small house right now, 550 square feet, 1 bedroom. that is not going to accommodate a family.
Mm-hmm.
So it may reach a different set of audiences
Totally.
because of who it is. It may be a young professional single person, or it may be
Fixed
somebody
income.
who's empty nested and ready for, so no, I'm not marketing to a particular target group like that.
And I would love to better understand over coffee what our
I'll buy a
current-
coffee when you want.
I love it.
That's
So
probably
what that
a conflict
what
of
that
interest, but
specifically,
carry on.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, we had a motion and a second. And Haley,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Ann,
Abstain.
you're abstaining, and Sandra.
Aye.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Thanks, Alice.
next up is backyard harvest. I know you've been back there thinking about exactly what to say here in 3 minutes flat.
All right. Good evening. I'm Bo Mossman, Executive Director of Backyard Harvest. So most people know Backyard Harvest for our gleaning program, where we go pick fruits and vegetables from people's backyards and orchards and farms, take it to food banks and people who need it. But we also run a farmers market access program. And so what that is people who have food stamps, EBT, SNAP benefits. They can come to the farmers market and exchange their EBT money for money to spend at the market. Prior to this year, we had funding from Idaho Farmers Market Association. And last year we had it from the Washington Department of Health to give double people's money. So in other words, someone who came and spent $10 of EBT money could get $20 to spend at the market. So it's a really good way to incentivize people who might not otherwise shop at farmers market, who might go to Winco or something. And no offense to Winco, I love Winco, but it incentivizes them to come to the market and get local, fresh produce and food. So right during the pandemic, that funding was pulled. Right at the same time as we were having almost double the number of people coming to use the farmers market incentive program. So we've had a lot of disappointed customers. We can only give them the exact amount of money that they're taking from their EBT. And it's looking like it's just increasing with inflation. So I think it's a really clear fit for this grant for providing nutritional assistance to those in need. And so I'm here if you have any other questions. Thanks.
I have one. Did the funding get pulled from the Idaho Farmers
Farmers Market Association?
Yeah.
That was pulled a while ago, and we were only being funded by the Washington Department of Health, who allowed us to
As a border
do it in
community.
Moscow because we're on the border and serve a lot of Washington residents, but they pulled it as well, probably in response to increased use and not having enough money to serve more customers.
And there's no easy, I would guess there's not an easy, there's probably not a carbon copy option in Idaho for what the Washington Department of Health was doing.
No.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Sandra.
Bo, first, thanks for always picking the pears in my yard. I appreciate that a lot. And the more important question for this discussion is, am I making it up, or do you guys also do winter markets?
We do, yeah.
And you're still doing those as well?
We still are.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
I think this is one, again, I just gave Nils a lot of sunshine, but this is the coolest program. I love the idea because, we've all had that budget moment where you have to decide, okay, am I going to get not fresh stuff or do I go frozen again? And it's so nice to be able to feel a little indulged and get to go to the farmer's market. And I think that is ideal, Mr. Mayor. And so it is a huge, humongous motion for funding at $25,000.
Second.
That was okay.
Okay, motion and a second. When a light interruption,
There's some music in the background.
but nonetheless, any further discussion?
It just seems like a great program, and I love how it helps people with nutritional assistance, but it also helps the farmers market. So it's like win, 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 win.
And community building.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, Sandra,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Ann. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bo.
Next is the interesting case of Sojourners Alliance having
Yeah.
gotten funding before and reapplying for more.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm Cliff McAleer, the director of Sojourners. So initially, we had applied and received the $25,000 grant, and I want to thank you again for that. At the time, of course, that was the limit to the request. Somewhere in that process, I was notified by Cody that you were entertaining additional funding to those requests. Well, we missed, quite frankly, we missed the deadline to add on to our 25,000. After attending a prior council meeting where we were discussing these issues and talking with Cody, I was told that I could again apply for the additional amount that I would have done, originally. So that's kind of where the disconnect came in. These funds, as you've seen in our report, revolve primarily around our remodel and construction of our basement to add some additional beds to our transitional living program. And as always, these programs take on a life of their own. These the costs have gone up considerably. We have received funding from the county on this project as well, but we're still in need of additional funding. So asking for money is always kind of hard for me, to be honest with you. And, I certainly respect any decision that you make on this. And, I appreciate the process.
Sandra.
So Cliff, I so appreciate what Sojourners does for so many times. I remember even running a fundraiser for you at one point a few years ago when you had a fire, right? I just ran across those pictures and I remember this several years ago. I was like, oh, I do remember. That was so hard and awful and great that our community came together. And I do know that because early on we had kind of a glitch in what was going on and we decided to open things up more. I know that in my mind, and this is just Sandra, but really trying to stick to that $25,000. So I love that you applied again. I think that was a smart thing to do. I'm surprised more people haven't. But I just want to be straight up and let you know that's why I won't vote for this tonight. Not because I don't believe in what you do or any of that, but all of our nonprofits, not all of them, but the majority showed how much more they've asked for. And I know that I have been trying to limit that to $25,000, as was the spirit of this to begin with. So even though that kind of went by the wayside, we haven't granted more out. And for me, I am not going to do that. So I wanted you to know my reasoning on that, because I do so appreciate what you do and you help so many. And I think that 25,000 that we gave earlier, for me, that's where it stops. And that's where it will stop for all of them in my world.
Okay. Maureen.
So looking at your original grant, the 25,000 that you originally asked for, it was a lot of money with respect to staffing and stuff. And then this one came out and it's much more with respect to, why don't you just tell me that instead of me just, is it the construction and the furnishing of the construction?
Correct. Well, as I said, some of these things are a little short-sighted. We hadn't really thought about the camera system that needs to go in the basement. We're probably all operating about on, double duty as far as staffing goes. We're on we're a small operation. So, funding for additional staffing salary was certainly a big part of the initial one and part of the second. And then again, just the furnishings that it's going to take to get everything furnished. Again, we just didn't really, think about all that, I guess.
Okay, so let me just be clear, because one of my thoughts is when I look at this, I think that my approach towards additional funding is one-time funding that's not to fund something that's ongoing. So like staffing is an ongoing expense. And so if I had a sense of what the furniture cost or that which is not staffing, which is something that's an ongoing process, it would be easier for me to make that decision.
Yeah, I don't have any figure. We have not, we're just completing construction right now. We're probably going to be done in the next week or two, and then we'll start looking at, the cost of furnishings, but we really haven't gotten anything solid on that.
Julia.
So I just have to disagree with Sandra a little bit, but we disagree all the time. We still like each other.
We do.
I think this money is here for us to pass through. It was put in place for us to give to nonprofits, and so I am happy to continue to pass through that money to people like Sojourners. So I don't have a problem with exceeding the 25,000.
I have a question. Because I just want to make sure that I am understanding it's not Stardust. Is it Hillcrest? Was Hillcrest, when Hillcrest was bought, was that part of where Sojourners had partnered for temporary housing, or am I mixing up my entities?
We used it. I don't know if partnered is the best word, but we did use that as one of our primary, it was
For the transitional living program, this exact
It
program.
was the most economical place to rent a room, and we had a good relationship with the owners. So we did use that. Sorry, that's me. So we did use that, pretty frequently.
And so now that now that we don't have access to the Hillcrest anymore, I guess I'm looking at this transitional living program and understanding that some of this is getting brought in-house, like literally in-house, to be able to have that same
Well, that was part of
support
the
capacity.
idea,
Okay.
to increase the number of beds that we can provide.
Okay. Thank you.
Gina.
Thanks, Cody.
I've lost track anymore who I'm going to disagree with and agree with here. But my feelings are, yes, the money was put aside for us to give and grant out to deserving businesses and nonprofits, and we designed the framework the way it is. But it's also our responsibility to make sure it goes to the right organizations and to have the maximum impact that we can with the money. And I am not convinced, as much as I enjoy you, Cliff, in general, and respect what Sojourners does, and it is a job that I am not equipped in any way to do. But I am not convinced that this extra amount of money would not be better invested putting it into an infrastructure, water infrastructure for the rest of Moscow. To me, these are not equal. In my mind, this should be put towards the water fund.
Counselors. Go time.
I move that we grant Sojourners Alliance $15,000.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Julia.
Aye.
Sandra.
No.
Anne.
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
Gina.
No.
Maureen.
Hold on, I'm still struggling with this one. I would have taken a smaller amount, but aye.
Okay, so that one passes for 15.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for
And
being
like I
here.
said, this is good practice for us.
Okay,
Mr.
next.
Mayor, if I could please just briefly, just remind you on the screen that with that 15,000, that was the first allocation beyond the maximum 25,000 that was allotted. You have the $8,000 request that was under the 25. But with the requests coming up, certainly it far exceeds the funding that's
Right.
left in the program. I just wanted to remind you of that.
Where's my abacus?
That's a good point.
Can you keep a running tab for us?
Yeah.
So we're on it right now.
No, I'm serious. Like, oh, you got it.
So what
Okay.
is
On
it?
it.
Please, we're not gonna
I
go
also,
through
Mr. Mayor, can we go backwards a second? Not too far backwards, but I forgot that Backyard Harvest actually asked for 27,400, not 25,000. And then we just passed it as 25,000, and I just didn't know if we wanted to revisit that.
No,
this. No,
it's a done deal.
Well, I mean,
So-
doesn't that just put them up here on that list?
We could grant them another $2,400.
No, we're not going backwards. The vote's been taken. So, and that applies to previous business that we've already conducted as a city council and the city of Moscow with other applications that have predated these from the beginning.
But the one comment I have on that is I thought that what we were doing here tonight was looking at the applications of $25,000 for nonprofits. And then if somebody needed more than that, that we would go back and,
That's where we are right now.
which, I mean, so that would seem to me that at that point, okay, I think, and the only reason to say that is that it seems to me that if anybody wanted to move, we could actually make the Backyard Harvest another $2,000 because you couldn't vote on $2,000 back when we were taking a vote because we were doing a cap of 25 and now there's like $2,000 left.
We're not going backwards on tonight. If there is time and funding left in the program, it can be reconsidered at a later date. But once the vote is taken, we're done and not going backwards. Otherwise, we're going to sit here and turn this place into a tractor pull where there's noise, commotion, stuff flying everywhere. In the end, nothing is moved.
I just think it was more of an error
I
on our
agree.
part
I don't
than
think
a.
there's consensus on that. It's
Nope.
backwards or not.
We're not going back. This is the
We're
chairman's
council.
prerogative.
Can we make a motion at any point?
I will not entertain a motion like that.
Okay.
having been the one who made the motion, it was the 25,000 was deliberate because was this within the structure of the program.
I get, the only thing I'll chime in on is, to your point, Julia, it would then end up on this board. I'm not saying there is untapped ask, and I'm not saying anyone here is asking to make it. I just, point of clarification, I am with Ann and Julia on this one because if we're capping it out at 25, there were $2,400 of foregone asked money still requested. So that was the point. I am with you, Julia. I'm not asking to have Cody amend the slide right now, but it's ungranted requested money that would have fallen up here. So let's move on to the next one.
So also recall that any funding left
Goes to the water
is
fund.
contemplated
Yeah.
to be rolled over into capital improvement fund, specifically the water fund. And this defrays costs to every taxpayer in the city of Moscow. And because everybody in Moscow pays the same fee through the water, it is a regressive fee on the citizens of Moscow. So any leftover monies we have that we can roll off into the water fund saves money that everybody, regardless of income, would be paying into that infrastructure program. So keep in mind where the residual funds wind up as we move forward.
Mr. Mayor, the remaining funds after the actions that have been taken this evening are $207,306.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We're on to Palouse Care Network / LifeBridge. Anybody here from that organization?
That was a long wait to get your 3 cents worth, isn't it? I'm sorry.
Welcome back, Casey. How are you all doing?
Good.
Great.
How are you?
Doing well. So my name's Casey Dale. I'm the licensed mental health counselor at LifeBridge. And so just there were just a few things we just wanted to really clarify. So there was just a misunderstanding that we are a political organization, and we are in fact not a political organization. And we don't endorse candidates, lobby for legislation, picket, or protest for our specific place. So we wanted to make that really clear. And then also to really mention the misunderstanding that we were requesting grant funding for advocacy. We actually requested no money for advocacy. Instead, the bulk of our request was to help subsidize the cost of counseling. I work with children, youth, older adults, just everyone that wants to come in. I specialize in working with trauma, and I'm one of the few therapists in this area that provides EMDR and somatic techniques, as well as internal family systems and parts work. And when you look at the research of what really helps people to work through trauma, those are some of the leading ones. And I offer, like we offer it at a very, a far reduced price. There is another person in the area, but it's $200 to go there. And so I love doing this work and providing really what everyone kind of deserves to help them work through trauma so that they can really move forward in their lives. And so that money would be to subsidize all of that counseling and those who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, which I don't doubt you all maybe have known people who have been really affected mentally, just with mental health connected with COVID. And so I really enjoyed being a place for that landing space because truly what I've seen is it's not just dealing with things from COVID, but COVID has really ignited the underlying issues that have kind of lay dormant, for a long time. So we were actually just mostly asking for $25,000 at the very base to be allotted the same amount as other nonprofits. And so I'm here to answer any questions because.
Do you all ever reject anyone who can't pay?
No, so we have a sliding fee scale, and that's where it's really difficult. Like, I mean, I personally see a lot of value in having someone pay something. I worked with the recovery center previously, and I loved working with addictions, and I saw that I've seen a big difference when clients can pay even $10 because they're putting something into the game. Yeah, we're definitely hurting in that way because we've probably done that a bit more than what you should in a business. But it's there's a big need right now, and it would be amazing to have that support.
Gina.
I appreciate your statements about a sliding scale, and I do believe that skin in the game makes a difference. And having been one who has sought and benefited from counseling in my past, I move wholeheartedly that we grant this Palouse Care Network LifeBridge the additional $17,000 to bring them up to 25.
Second.
Sandra, you were going to say something?
I wanted to clarify that it was 17 and not the 25, and we just did that, so I will hang on to my second on that.
I think I would still like some clarity on how you separate your religious views from the services you provide.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So just as a mental health counselor, like I said, I worked at the recovery center, and I mean, that was never an issue. The ACA ethics for every counselor, the American Counseling Association, actually posits through research, we see that one of the leading ways that people find healing and meaning is precisely in finding a meaning and purpose in their lives to transcend any trauma. And so that can be their spiritual, whatever that is. And that's something that I've noticed. I mean, I work with everyone of all different beliefs, but that's one thing I've noticed that has really been something very pivotal for people in their darkest times. And so I just personally don't believe in telling someone to believe anything, because that's not it's not my agenda. If I want to see them find healing, it's really about, my core philosophy actually is that, like each of you, right, we internally know what we need, and we just need someone to walk with us and to find that within ourselves. And for different people, they're on different parts of their journey, and I love walking alongside and learning what kind of gets them through. You'll actually see a lot of the people who I am currently working with are not religious. I have a wide mix. But yeah, the whole goal is for them to find healing. And so I'd be wasting their time and my time if I ever say otherwise. And all of the employees follow that as well. And I would love it, like, if any of you wanted to come and meet, and I'm an advocate for counseling. I think all of us can benefit from it. So if you ever want to see what I do, like, I would love to share it.
I'm not supportive of this request. I think we made the right choice. And I think a big part of that, I have no doubts that in your work, you're able to separate that for yourself and maybe on the counseling side. But my interactions with your organization have been explicitly political. They've been invited as the counterpoint on certain discussions, known as a crisis pregnancy center. It's pretty explicit on your website. The fundraising speeches online for your organization also touch on that note. So I feel like whether or not you're engaged in electoral activity does not necessarily define whether or not you're political. So I'm uncomfortable funding your organization. I feel like we did a good job picking out the piece that I think is fully separate, and that's why I'll be voting no on it.
Can we talk about that for a moment?
No.
No. Okay. Well, then maybe I just would invite you to, like, I would love to sometime talk with you further, outside of here, just on a personal level. I'm not a political person, and I wouldn't work for a place that is. And I don't know. I'm a foster parent of 4 children, and I still get to see those children because I've built close relationships with those parents. And I just believe in meeting people where they're at, because that's real intimacy. That's true intimacy. So
we don't want to get too far into interpersonal philosophical discussions at this point, and stick strictly with the funding for the organization as a whole. So that's what we're here for, and not necessarily your approach to counseling or the approach of others necessarily. Sure. So we need to keep the sights raised a little bit higher. So we have a motion and a second for 17,000. Let's see, where are we? Julia?
No.
Sandra?
Aye.
Ann?
No.
Haley?
Can you come back to me, Mayor?
Okay, Gina?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
And back to Haley.
No.
So what's the count on that one?
3-3.
3-3?
It's yours, Mayor.
Oh, so the mayor gets to break this tie. Mayor votes no. Okay, next up, Family Promise of the Palouse.
Good evening. I'm Autumn Avery, the Executive Director for Family Promise of the Palouse. And we really just wanted to say thank you for the $25,000 that you did provide to us already. We have expanded our services to include some additional prevention, homelessness prevention in addition to our shelter, and then a Home Start program. And hopefully in this fall, we'll be introducing our day program. And we did kind of reach for the stars in our grant application with a very large amount, and came here tonight with the understanding that we would not be receiving that full amount that we had requested in additional after that, and just feel that anything above and beyond that $25,000 would be greatly appreciated.
Council?
Mr. Mayor, I think that the best impact of the remaining funds would be to place it into the water situation. So the water, what are we calling it? Water fund?
Water capital fund.
Water capital fund, because that serves the largest number of people and has the maximum impact.
So I have a couple of questions. One is, the part of the funds that you're looking for is also for hotel shelter?
Yes. So at this present time, we can serve 4 families in our shelter with up to 15 people. And we have found the need for more than that. We currently have 1 family in shelter at the moment and probably 4 that could be onboarded on tomorrow. We have been sheltering 1 additional family in a hotel for the last 2 months. And our hotel fund has dwindled. Most of the congregations that we work with have space for 3 of them or a maximum of 4 families. But normally we average about 10 families a year through our shelter program. And since April of 2020, we've averaged 15. And we've been above that maximum 4 families since February.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have it right here in front of me, but there was something that you had that was like the home.
Our Home Start program.
Okay, so what is it that this funding is asking for with respect to, is it shelter? Is it home care?
So the funding actually was requested to assist with renovations of our day center to be able to have that Home Start program and our day services program. So our Home Start program, anybody from the community in Laytown or Whitman County can come in and get items to restart their home. Small furniture, linens, kitchen items such as that. And then our day program we'd like to start this fall would be for not just families, but individuals, anyone that is currently experiencing homelessness that needs a place to take a shower, make a hot meal, access computers for resources or search for housing, things like that. But the space that we're in right now is wonderful, but we have the opportunity to expand further in the building and it needs a lot of work.
I have a question.
Julia.
But you don't own that building, right?
We do not. We are in a long-term lease with Kurtman Medical Center.
I'd like to propose that we provide Family Promise with an additional $25,000 towards their hotel shelter program. Sorry, I can't remember what they called it. Because I think the purpose of this funding was to provide funding for small businesses and nonprofits, and that our infrastructure money comes from someplace else, including a lot of ARPA funds.
I give a friendly amendment on that, but can we say that it would go to the hotel shelter as well as the day program, which is then expanding to 2 extra rooms?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to not restrict it to that. Okay, I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question for staff.
Sure.
So I'm sitting with Gina's comments and trying to understand, because I know the leftovers will go back to the piggy bank for some really big expensive projects. Can you remind me these, what other sources, the water?
The water capital.
Thank you. Moment of panic. Is receiving, because like it'll be, I can't remember if it's already getting some ARPA funds that have been set aside, and what's sitting in the piggy bank right now.
Mr. Mayor, there were the original resolution in terms of allocation for the ARPA funds 2021-25 did include $3,628,399 already that was to the city's water infrastructure. That included Pullman Highway Transmission Phase 3 project, A Street Transmission Project, downtown transmission, and then also improvements on Mountain View, Palouse River Drive. And then it went on to expand quite a bit of language there, but just recognizing that the funds had to be obligated by a certain date. that if we were running up against that time frame, that additional funding be moved to water infrastructure for other projects such as those.
And partly to do with the water infrastructure, there's a concrete asbestos water main behind the mall that needs to be replaced. There's a major line from well number 10, the city's major producing well, from on the other side of the Palouse Highway, between the highway and the Chipman Trail, running into town. And then to get it elsewhere, there needs to be improvements elsewhere in the system in order to feed water from the
Accommodate
main
it,
well
right.
to the east side of town, plus the branches off of there. And this is all fabulously expensive because it involves digging and pipes and stuff like that. And so that's where the ARPA monies and residual funds from this particular program would wind up. Otherwise, it goes into water fees with the annual fee increases that impacts every citizen in the city.
And so
And if I could add just one more thing, at the time, the 3.6 roughly million that was allocated to it, the project estimates, those that I rattled off, were
Right.
4.8 at the time.
That was
And
my
that's,
next question.
as you've
Okay.
seen in recent bids and bid openings, that's going up by the day.
Okay, thank you. And so I know there's a motion on the floor. I'm in the same place with Gina right now. Given as uncomfortable I am with the project, with the program, I think that I'm going to be most happy seeing seeing the remaining funds stay.
Sandra.
I'm not wording that well, but just
You
for
worded
context.
it just
Yeah.
She did fine.
No, and I do enjoy giving money to our folks. I really do. And I do know that, at least in my mind, when we were coming up with this, the spirit was 25,000 max, and for nonprofits and 15 for small business. And I love that and happy to do that. But we've met that, in my mind, again, we've met that limit. And so that's why, again, like with Sojourners, I will vote no on this, because I'm happy to award that 25K. And that's what I want from all of our nonprofits. But to go beyond that, I think gets a real level of uncertainty and ambiguity. And so I wanted you to know that's why I stand where I stand.
Okay, motion and second. Gina.
No.
Maureen.
Yes.
Ann.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about this before we started voting.
Oh, sorry.
What? Oh, no, it's
Didn't
okay.
mean-
I think we all have different philosophies about how we're approaching this program. I don't think there's this one size fits all. To me, it's maximum impact for the organizations that provide the greatest benefit to our community and also prevent us from having to spend resources on services, right? If you're taking care of people who would otherwise be on the streets, that's something that now we don't have to do, right? Which we don't want people in that position at all. So that's the approach I'm taking with the rest of this money, which is why I'm voting aye on this.
Haley.
And I just realized I voted to allocate additional funding to Sojourners, and so I'm working on not being wishy-washy and knowing what Family Promise can accomplish. I'm going to vote aye.
Sandra.
No.
Gina, or Julia, sorry.
Aye.
Okay, 4-2 ayes for how much more?
25,000.
Okay. Next up, Laytown Recovery Center.
Your Honor, I'd like to repeat that I think the best use of the remaining funds in this small grant pile is to put it towards the water capital fund.
I agree with you, but we've got everybody here and they're on the agenda, so.
And I will say it 10 more times, sir.
Okay, great. So, Laytown Recovery Center, Daryl.
This grant funding was all for our recovery house, the Oxford House, that I believe you guys have probably all read about in the newspaper a couple of times. I thought I'd just give you some background on how we arrived at asking the city for $200,000. You know, the house cost us $450,000. And when we sought to put that deal together, we approached the county commissioners and they said, go to the city. We approached the city and they said, go to the county commissioners. So we played ping pong a little bit. And finally, the county commissioner said, okay, we'll step up, but we'll give $200,000. We want you to challenge the city to give $200,000. So that's how I arrived at 200,000 for you guys. Honestly, any support is appreciated. To make it happen, the Recovery Center put in $250,000. We did that. We bought a $450,000 house. So we took, not knowing what the city would support us for, we took a mortgage out and then put 50,000 of our own cash in, because you got to have your own bucks in if you're going to make a deal, in my opinion. So we've got a $200,000 mortgage on that. Debt relief is nice. And that is where all the money, if you guys should choose to give us any money, would go, is directly to debt relief. And then that money that we will then make off of the rent that we get from that house, because we do get rent, will be used to buy another house as a female facility. It's that simple. That said, I recognize Gina's coming objection. And as somebody who had their house flooded about 5 years ago and a 10-inch main broke, I cannot fault you for wanting to support waterworks either. So do what you like.
Counselors.
I think we allocated the amount of money we did to these things for a reason, and I would like to see it expended to the things I think are most effective. And this is number one for me.
Would you like to make a motion?
I guess I could. Nobody else wants to say anything? I move we fund the rest of the Laytown Recovery Center request for an additional $175,000 for the.
I don't think we have that much left
Mr. Mayor, there's a 182,306 before you act on this
during
item.
close.
Second.
Further discussion?
Ditto what I said before. I don't absolutely know where my heart is where LRC is concerned. It is not maximum use of our money, in my opinion, 1 of 6.
Okay, Julia,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Haley,
Nope.
Gina,
No.
Sandra,
No.
Maureen,
Aye.
3-3 again. Mayor votes no.
Mr. Mayor can make a different motion to allocate an additional $25,000 to the Laytown Recovery Center.
We're still on the topic, so yeah.
Second.
Okay. Let's see, we have this time Maureen,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Gina,
No.
Sandra,
No.
Haley,
Aye.
Ann,
I'm going to say no because I think we can do better. No.
and the mayor says no.
I'd like to make a motion that we fund the Laytown Recovery Center partially with another $100,000.
I don't think that if it went down at 25, it's going to go back up at 100.
Oh, short, withdraw him.
Second.
Motion and a second. Maureen,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Haley,
I'm looking at my envelope math. No.
Gina,
No.
Julia,
Aye.
Sandra,
No.
and mayor says no.
Oh, he didn't have to that time.
3-3.
Oh, he did. Yeah. My math.
Okay, moving
What are you
on.
doing that without a license for anyway?
I know. I'm not a CPA.
Sorry, Daryl. Next up, Moscow Contemporary. Roger.
Good evening. Thank you. Roger Raleigh, Executive Director, Moscow Contemporary. Thank you very much for the initial $25,000. We had already hired a half-time education coordinator with our own funds. With the award from the ARPA funds, we were able to move that to full-time. As we were having those discussions with that employee, that person was offered a full-time position with benefits, without a search, and closer to home. So they took that job, as nonprofits understand, trying to keep staff is not an easy thing. So we're back to square one in terms of hiring. That position is open right now, and we have begun to receive applicants. So again, with the ARPA funds, instead of advertising that at halftime, we are advertising it at full time. And just to clarify one point from Julia's excellent dissection of at the earlier meeting, what we were really asking for was 2 part-time positions, was to take this one already existing half-time position, push it to full-time, and then trying to jumpstart our education programs was to give that person a part-time assistant so we could expand to all the things that we know we can do. And for us, cognizant of your critique in terms of staffing based on soft money, we're 1 year old as of August 1st. And for us to be able to go out and say, this is what we imagine doing, and trying to get money is one thing. Using the ARPA funds, we can go out and achieve that and be able to go to people and say, this is how we got these programs up and running. We need your help to keep them going. So that was what we were looking at in terms of using staff. That's our single biggest deficit, is human capacity to get to where we want to go. So that's why we built the budget the way we did.
Council, questions, comments? Okay, I could tell them that. Look, Gina.
I don't even need to say it this time. But I do believe that the most effective use of our dollars is in the Water Capital Fund.
Maureen.
I think I said it earlier. I guess my sense is I understand how you think that if you have a grant money now, it will help you trigger to get more money in the future, but I'm not interested in, I don't think that it's within, to go over $25,000 that we've already given for the purposes of wages.
One thing I would add there, and I don't think really change what you're suggesting, is that because of the newness of our organization, we cannot apply for ICA grant this year, which would help cover staffing costs. We will become eligible to apply January of next year for funds that'll come available July of 2024. And then we don't become eligible for NEA funds for another year and a half after that. So there are other sources of funds. This is kind of that, for us, it was that jumpstart that serves as a bridge till we have other sources.
Anybody?
No motion seems to be forthcoming. So
I'd make a motion to grant Moscow Contemporary $25,000 in additional funding through the grant program.
That's more than they asked.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must be looking at the first. I'm scrolling.
They asked for a total of 44.
41,900.
Yes, it shows 50 out there.
Okay. Let's see.
16,900 is the remaining in their grant, right? 41,900
That's
minus
That's that one,
25,000.
Oasis.
Oh, sorry.
And well, then we've got the packets have the initial application and the addendum. So I was worried I was looking at the wrong page.
Yeah, the request is an additional $50,000.
Oh, I see.
Oh, sorry.
I see. My motion stands to grant $25,000 to Moscow Contemporary.
motion dies for a lack of a second.
I was just going to second it.
Well,
Just had to think about it for a second.
do it.
I did.
Okay.
Second it.
But don't leave it hang too long, or the chair rules a lack of a second and down it goes. So we got a motion and a second for 25,000 to the Moscow Contemporary. So let's see.
An additional 25.
Yeah, additional. Julia,
Aye.
Gina,
No.
Maureen,
No.
Ann,
Can you come back to me, please?
Sandra,
No.
Haley,
Aye.
Ann.
I support you in your work. I've had the same reservations about the staffing. And Aye.
And mayor says no. So,
I guess it's expanded, in my mind, it would covered expanded. My addendum thought is it would be expanded services to the community. So, but I know the concern about it first, one-time expenses, so. versus recurring.
okay, next up, Oasis.
Mr. Mayor, I will abstain from this vote.
Okay,
Oh, I was looking at Inland Oasis. That's why I kept saying.
That's what it was.
41,000.
Hi, I'm Mary LeCoq. I'm the program coordinator for Inland Oasis.
Hello.
And kind of know how this is probably going to go. The 25,000 that you gave us before has kept our doors open, and we have it pretty well laid out, I think, how we would spend the rest. So if you have any questions, want to get out of here at some time tonight, probably. So
That's honesty. Thank you. As much as I appreciate her honesty, I do still believe that our funds are going to be best invested and most impactful in the Water Capital Fund.
Mr. Oh, go ahead.
I guess I'm just going to say with every application, I guess that I think we set aside a certain amount of money for a reason. It's supposed to go back into the community. That's how I feel about it. So I'm just going to say yes and get it back out because I think that's where it should go. We have plenty, not plenty, but we have a lot from what we set out to do, set out for the Water Capital Fund. And certainly we could always use more for it. But
Indeed.
that's what I think this money is here for. So I would be supportive of the additional funding.
I have a question. Can you use the term in there that you need funds for emergencies? I'm just curious on like how that's defined.
that was just for anything that comes up. That would be, what do we have in there for emergencies?
It wasn't defined.
Like additional expenses. That is things like last year when our plumbing went out. And so we had to shut down our center during Thanksgiving. Sort of unforeseen things that happen, just to give us that little boost to help us get through.
So I just have to say, I have some concerns again in terms of looking at your budget. The
Mm-hmm.
budget has a lot of stuff in terms of rent and utilities and that stuff, and that's kind of ongoing funding. And I personally give preference to something that's sustainable and that is one-time expenses. Not always, but that's a lot of money to ask for the difference.
Yeah, and that was actually the first 25,000 that was going towards all that stuff. So that's already been put into that and earmarked for that. This would be any additional funds are fantastic. We like feeding people and keeping food on the shelves, and that first 25,000 kept the doors open by paying the rent until we could start doing more fundraising.
I have a question. What have you been seeing in the last few months in terms of use of your food pantry?
Oh my goodness, it has increased. We went up like 60% over the last couple months. We keep growing and we have a greater and greater need. And we're seeing less donations also because everyone's feeling the effects of inflation and everything that's going on. So it's sometimes a struggle, but we're keeping food on the shelves.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to grant a partial amount that was requested of $25,000 to Inland Oasis for an additional funding.
Could you turn that off, please? In perpetuity, is that possible?
no,
I second it.
thank you. Other discussion? Okay. Julia,
Aye.
Gina,
No.
Maureen,
No.
Ann,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
25,000 to Inland Oasis on a 3-2 vote.
Oh, you have to abstain. That's right.
Next up is Kenworthy.
Good evening. My name is Colin Mannix. I'm the executive director at the Kenworthy, and I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for the $25,000 that we were awarded at the beginning of the summer. It's been really instrumental in providing us with the funds to support the point of sale system and some repairs to our projection system that were sorely needed. I'm coming to you with a request for additional funds to expand some of the existing programs that we have in place already. The money that I've requested would go to green room repairs, backstage repairs, and that would also open up a reception space in the backstage area that would provide us with another source of revenue that would help us to be more sustainable as we move forward. We've done tremendous work this past year in providing opportunities for community engagement. Our programming has served Common Tone, Laytown Recovery Center, Bishop Place, Ukraine Film Benefit, Lena Whitmore School, Moscow Day School, Coeur d'Alene Charter Academy. They've all had live performances, music, theater, and film events in our space. And so I've been really enthusiastic about what we've been able to do in serving the community and serving the educational arts groups that have wanted to make use of our space. But commercially, things have not been faring well at all. And we rely on the funding that we get, the revenue that we get from running movies to support those groups at a subsidized rate. So we are absent that cash, and expanding the backstage area, improving that space will help us to provide more opportunities to bring in that revenue so that we can operate sustainably to serve our mission moving forward.
I have a question. Who owns the Kenworthy building?
We are a 501c3 nonprofit, completely independently owned and separate from any other organization.
The building itself is owned by
Yes.
the Kenworthy. Oh, okay, sorry. I had a different impression in my head.
Council people?
Okay, I move that we provide an additional $20,000 in funding to the Kenworthy.
I voted no the first time, not because I don't love you all and would give you my own money anytime, but I just didn't think it fit the bill for the program as far as community services. So I was not in the majority on that, but I would vote no on this.
We're still hovering without a second. Okay, no second, so the motion dies.
Thank you.
Next up, Food Not Bombs of the Palouse.
My name is Monique, and I'm just attendee for my friends Olivia and Hannah. So I just am here to say thank you for what you previously given, and the request that I just noticed is up there. I text them, and they said they'll be filling out more applications on that. So my heart is to say thank you guys for all you're doing and really support the water thing, because that's really important. So, and I'm amazed at all the people, what we do. There's so much care for the needs in the crisis, and I'm really blessed to be an attendee to just, before I cry, to see what our town is doing for our needs. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Monique. I'd make a motion to grant I got it.
Food Not Bombs.
Food Not Bombs. Their remaining requested balance of $20,000 for an additional disbursement from the grant program.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. And further discussion?
I think our dollars would be most impactfully invested in the water fund.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But you didn't see that coming.
No. Okay, Anne,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Maureen,
No.
Sandra,
No.
Haley,
Aye.
Gina,
No.
Mayor votes no. Not because I disagree with the program.
Right.
And last up is the Moscow Day School.
Bradley?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors. My name is Brad Rudley, and I'm here in my capacity as a director on the board of Moscow Day School, Inc. Moscow Day School is a nonprofit early childhood education center that was started over 40 years ago by the late counselor Linda Paul and some other parents. I can't describe the daycare crisis in 3 minutes, but I'm confident that my co-board member, Dulcie Kirsting Lark, has adequately explained it to each of you in her interactions. In our grant application, our hope and goal and what we've been working toward is opening a new Wadler room, which would cater to up to 6 children ages 1 to 2. In the daycare business, when you're not subsidized, really our choices are charge our parents more, charge the parents of the 40 children at the school more, pay our staff less, or do structural and equipment upgrades. So really in our request, we've asked for one-time equipment upgrades. This includes rebuilding our falling apart, dangerous, and honestly non-compliant fence to be safe and compliant, upgrading our kitchen facilities so that the board members, including myself and our directors and staff, don't have to take the school's laundry home on the weekends and do it. And we are also asking for upgrades to aging playground equipment, some which may be original, and tiles for a playground area that is just dirt right now, that as a parent of children that play in the dirt would be much better served as a tiled surface.
I had a question like 3 seconds after you started because you used a word and I might be fuzzy because it's 9:15. Did you say Wadler?
Wadler, yeah. So we currently serve 40 students aged infant to pre-K. The problem is when the children in the infant room, which currently runs to the age of 2 years old, when the 1-year-olds interact with the 3-week-olds, that doesn't cater to a good or safe situation. Yeah. So we're really trying to work toward and have slightly opened a new room which caters to that middle category.
So I'm thinking duck waddling. Is that what?
Yeah.
That was
Walking.
meant?
Yeah,
Toddler,
you know,
right?
yeah, they waddle.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Exactly.
Awesome. Then I'm not
Yeah.
quite as far gone as I thought.
Yeah, and it also would enable us, because we can move more students to the Wadler room, would also enable us to accept more infants into that program.
Sandra.
And what is the staffing right now there? How are you set up to handle more? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the staff, right now, we're also feeling the crunch of the labor shortage and crisis from the labor shortage. So right now we are really having to, in lieu of structural equipment, infrastructure upgrades, pay staff more so we can compete with, McDonald's or Pullman or other places to just be able to hire people to work in the school. But currently we're, severely understaffed.
Thanks.
Have you applied for any STAR money yet?
Yeah.
We heard about that at the beginning.
Okay.
Yep. We've applied for, I'm not exactly sure when that opened. I know our director and Dulcie, Ms. Kirsty and Lark, have been applying for those funds.
Questions? Comments? Motions?
I'll make a motion in a second. I need to go back to the amount. I can't remember. 17,000. I'd love to see new playground equipment. I see the slide is the same one that my daughter got stitches on and she's 22 now. So anyway, I would propose that we provide an additional $17,000 in funding to the Moscow Day School.
And after our recent discussion, I believe at the last council meeting regarding the distress of our daycares in general, this is the one time I'm going to break with my 25K rule, and I will second this.
Motion and a second. Further discussion?
What about the water fund, Gina?
She already said it.
Oh, she already did? Okay.
You're starting to agree with me, aren't you? It's starting to ring in your head.
Just starting to remind you.
Getting under your skin.
Okay, Julia,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Gina,
No.
Sandra,
Aye.
Maureen.
Aye.
Okay, that carries for 17,000.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, so my envelope math says we've got $162-ish thousand left untouched. Is that right?
140,306.
104,306. Cool. Thank you.
So that takes us to the end of the agenda after this.
Mr. Mayor, could you clarify with that remaining balance, is the desire to direct that towards water infrastructure projects? Is that the desire of council?
That.
So moved.
Yeah.
Wow, didn't see that one coming either.
Cody, could you remind me again what the amount of money we have left?
$140,306.
And a second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, is that a motion?
Okay, motion second to cycle the remnant funds into the water capital fund. So, Haley,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Ann,
No.
and Julia.
No.
And the money goes to the water fund. So, and there we finish up with this section of ARPA delegations, perhaps thankfully for all concerned. Okay, next up are reports. Sandra?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for everyone who was here. Had a few things happen, and I don't know if I thank my sick leave counselors for allowing me to do things or just say it was a pleasure to be able to go to different things this year. So I had the pleasure of going to the Farmers Market Commission meeting.
Thank you, Sandra.
I'm super happy to do that, and it was really interesting. I had a chance to do a second take of the downtown streetscape, which I really appreciated. They did a great job talking to council, and it was really nice to have a day to sit on it. And then I felt like I was taking a test. There again, I looked at all the PowerPoints again. I remembered so much more the next time. And I really appreciated the way that the farmers market folks were trying to incorporate the real vague ideas right now that are still out there. Hopefully those of you out in the audience and on Zoom land have taken a look at some of the ideas, aren't even proposals at the points, but just ideas about what's going on. And I really appreciated the thoughtful questions that the Farmers Market Commission folks asked, knowing that a great portion of what we hope to do with the streetscape will certainly impact our farmers market and the folks working on, I can't think of their names.
Not Welsh and Comer. Well, no.
The folks from Coeur d'Alene and Clarkston.
Yeah, Welsh Comer.
Thank you. The thought that they understand about it. In fact, one of them said, I live in Clarkston and I come up to the Moscow Farmers Market all the time. So I'm always looking at what's going on. And that made me feel great, actually, to hear that. So I was happy to hear that. And then just, I believe, I'm sad to say that we have dropped in the farmers market area to 11. We're out of the top 10. So anyone that feels as I do, and I think as most of our counselors, I would venture to say all of our counselors feel that we have the best farmers market around. It'd be great to go vote for that again and maybe bump us up a little bit. So anyway, that was the gist of what we did there. So I appreciate that.
Would you like to just add the fact that we also came in behind Nampa this year?
Oh,
stop.
So, no.
Wow.
Just saying, I think we have the ability to maybe jump up a little bit. And then I got to go to I don't even know the name of the fire commission, Ann.
The Moscow Volunteer.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if that was actually their name or if I was making that up, right?
Thank you.
And I really appreciated going to that. And I know that they are working on a lot of different things. And they're trying to work through protocols and work through how to keep just all the moving parts, all the Tetris parts moving, and how to make sure everyone's trained upright and what to do if they're not and how to meet all the needs. And I had not had a chance outside of Zoom World to attend one of those meetings, and it's a lot different live. And so I appreciated. Sorry that you weren't feeling the best, but really glad that I got to fill in. So I thank you for that. And then I had my own meeting, the 1912 development meeting. And I'm really excited to say that work on the third floor hasn't started yet, but bids are about to go out to start some things on the third floor, including leveling out the auditorium part. I don't know if you've been up there. Hopefully I have taken you on a tour there, or somebody else has, to level that off so you can actually have events there and get bids from all different kinds of architects on vision and design of that third floor. So that's great for our community. It really is our community building, and I'm excited to see what goes on there. I did some fun things, and I'm gonna let the mayor talk about, but like there's fun things at the airport, and there were really fun things at the golf tournament, but I'll let the mayor talk about those.
Maureen.
Okay, so I went to the Arts Commission, and what we did is a lot of getting people to sign up to judge various things, such as the mural selection panel and the poster selection panel and the mayor's awards panel, because what happens is they want to make sure that when people apply, that there's a sense of different groups, at least 3 people on each one of those to decide who wins and who doesn't. They're coming up with a list. We approved the list they approved the slate for exhibitions for the 3rd Street Gallery. And the other one is that they have really come up on looking to get more people to apply for the art walk for the next year coming up. So that was the Art Commission. We were cranking on that. Then I moved on to transportation. And transportation, we started with the big one was a presentation by Mark Story, who is the Whitman County transportation person. And basically he talked a lot about what's going on over there in terms of trying to avoid some of the problems on Sand Road and getting things no longer having gravel roads for a lot of that, and trying to keep people on this side of the state to kind of realize what's going on so that we can actually work together on some of those things. They're making a lot of improvements on that.
And just to clarify, Sand Road turns into West Palouse River Drive on the south end of Moscow. And that would, in theory, become a truck bypass for Pullman.
They're moving on that. Okay, so, and then we had another presentation on the streetscape design, which was great. And we talked about the bike routes and the facility plan, which it's a lot about what the bike lanes are going to look like, especially down there next to D and Good Sam. And there was a lot of conversation about that one. What's safe and what's not safe. Okay, one more. So then this is like my Cody show, because he seemed to be in all of these, and became the Moscow Urban Renewal Agency. And the big news on that one is we got another presentation on streetscape, but the big one is that we finally sold the last piece of property at the Alturas district. And so that was really fun. We've been working a long time on that. And so that's really exciting. And we're supposed to have an update on Legacy Crossing, but we didn't really get one. No one showed up. So there we go.
And
Pathways was supposed to meet and did not. Oh, that's it. I love Pathways. My grim report. Enjoy.
Gina.
Oh, man. Okay, I know it sounds like a surprise. The best use of the funds would be, and the tree commission. But I got to tell you, the tree commission, I do go to other events other than tree commission meetings. I'm just going to say this, but we decided for the next couple of years what the giveaway seedlings are going to be. And let me just say to you, smooth sumac.
Save the day.
It's awesome, you guys. Such cool stuff. Incense cedars. It's going to be awesome. We also decided on, and I want to give you an address to go look at, because there is the sexiest black walnut tree I've ever seen in my life. 907 East 7th Street. It's our latest heritage tree.
Oh, yeah.
I promise you it's worth the walk. It is absolutely gorgeous. And this is one of those trees that you walk up and you just know it's a presence. You can see it from blocks away. It's huge. They don't even know. They estimate 91 years old, but they're not even sure. It is that cool. While you're wandering towards that tree, there are a pair of elms that I really think you should find as well. And they are on Howard. There are a pair of them. It's like a match set, like salt and pepper. And I will tell you, it is really, really an exciting group to be part of.
So my only one question on that, if I could, Mayor, is just to ask if Gina's ever going to give up that commission.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because
I wanna
nobody's
turn.
gonna.
I will let someone else be on it, definitely, because that's how it is around here. But when I get old and stop working, I'm going to be on there for life.
Big surprise.
They're pretty cute.
Julia.
They are. They're some of the
Oh
greatest.
my goodness. Well, I always have to go after Gina. And it is 9:29. So I'm going to say fair and affordable housing got canceled because we all had COVID. And I went to the University of Idaho Women's Center 50th anniversary celebration, kickoff celebration. They have their own beer, which
And it's good.
is a good incentive. And I went downtown for the streetscape sticker placing survey, which was awesome. See so many people engaged in that. And that is it. Look, that was like 36 seconds.
I'll beat you. I don't have anything from planning and zoning that I can share with you guys. So planning and zoning happened. Thanks for covering while I was sick.
You were
Forgot
sick,
about that
poor
one.
thing.
It worked. It's all right. I was
Well,
presented.
for my part, these two magnificent works of art out here represent the triumph of the Honest Politicians golf team at the Mayor's Golf Tournament, and they represent a solid last place finish both years. You should come up and look at these, and I frequently think I'd probably do a better job golfing with one of these than the clubs. But it was a good time. The proceeds are benefiting the Moscow Food Bank, and I think everybody had a good time. The weather was delightful for a change.
There's only a little bit of lightning.
Yep, and that was way far
Was
away.
it 200
It was not way
degrees on
far
the
away.
greens now, or was it reasonable?
It was hot.
It was warm and humidish, but
Sweat.
it was so much better than past years, I guarantee. Even more fun was probably the groundbreaking for the Moscow Pullman Airport Terminal project. So last week we got out, we broke ground, funding is in place, the construction guys are rolling, and the new terminal should be substantially complete. I'm not sure what substantially means, but December 31st, 2023. And so we can expect second service, a United flight to Denver shortly after the terminal opens. And come September, I believe we're going back to 5 flights a day to Seattle, plus the one to Boise. So
Is he going to go 7 days a week?
I haven't heard.
I don't
I
think they
hope-
know yet. I hope
I
so.
aspire to that.
I think that
Um, Also coming up on the 26th is the Chamber of Commerce's auction. And those who would like to attend, go down to the chamber and buy yourself a ticket. The menu looks tasty. Go try it out. It'll be a fun event too. And on the 27th, the very next day, Northwest River Supply is celebrating their 50th anniversary in their parking lot. So go down, have a look. You could probably score some really nifty discounts on some equipment in their parking lot. They have a lot of good stuff going on. Also on the 27th is Moscow Pride out at East City Park. And then the big event from 4 to 8, right down here between 3rd and 5th on Main, will be the annual block party at which we welcome citizens, both old and new, into town. There'll be food, there'll be drinks, socializing galore, and most interestingly, heaven help us perhaps, because I'm a judge for this one, a karaoke contest. So anyway, I'm hoping somebody does Gilligan's Island, but that's what I have coming up. What have you got, staff?
Nothing from staff, Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
Like, we want
how
to
relaxed. How breathing. Okay, in that case, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That sounded unanimity across the board. We're adjourned. Thank you.